Afternoon here from Rocket Dollar World Headquarters in Austin, Texas, at the beautiful Capital Factory office. It is a true privilege. I'm making a prediction here that I am on with real estate royalty for the 2020s. So, folks, congratulations. The ball hasn't dropped yet, but we have a good one here today with Carter from Acretrader. And Carter, I've seen you everywhere. I've seen you on Fox News. I've seen you everywhere. So tremendous thank you for being here. And, without further ado, I just want to, give it to you and let's talk farmland. Sound good?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on, Dan. And, you can kind of click into the next slides if you want to, but very simply, Acretrader is a farmland investing platform. So we'll kind of move through here in the best interest of everyone's time, talk about farmland as an asset and the history of investing in farmland, and then importantly, what we do at Acretrader and how we make it an easily accessible asset class. So, and then Dan will come in a little bit and talk about using an SD IRA to invest in farmland.
Good stuff, brother. Awesome. Well, here's our pretty faces out here. As I said, Carter, you're going to see across, even if you have the old school bunny ears on TV. I personally think that land is hot. Land is great. Land is so tangible. As a real estate investor myself, I'm tremendously excited that you guys exist, and also the way that you do it from just an educational standpoint. So I know myself, the Rocket Dollar community, and a lot of folks listening in today are really excited. So, Carter, with that, I'll defer to your expertise.
Sure, great. And you bring up a good point, Dan, on educational material. We have just an exceptional amount and some great materials on our website at acretrader.com. So anything we don't touch on here today, we have a big FAQ section, but also just a lot of, as we're diving in here, about farmland as an asset class and also how it works on Acretrader.
Mm-hmm.
All the information is available on the site. So I think without going further into it, I think it's pretty simple when we look at farmland as an asset class, why we are excited about it. So I'm going to talk about this chart here in a minute, but just to zoom out and think about how you as an investor get paid, or how investors have made money historically in investing in farmland. It's very simple. There's two sources of income ultimately to the investor. The first source is the farmer pays you rent. So importantly, we are not farmers. We're not out driving tractors and combines and planting seeds and harvesting in the fall. We simply rent the land in a very simple tenant-landlord relationship to the farmer for which he pays a rent. So you make money by receiving annual distributions from the farm rent, and then in addition, through any appreciation in the asset. Those two have been split roughly evenly historically. Farmland has appreciated about 6% a year for 20, 30, 50 years. That's very simple. The reason why farmland has gone up in value is pretty simple supply and demand economics.
Sure.
We have so much farmland in the United States, and it's shrinking every day, every minute. We lose about 3 acres of farmland per minute.
Wow.
Pretty exceptional amount of land.
Yeah.
In addition to that shrinking supply, the demand is obvious. We have more mouths to feed. So as an asset class, we feed people, and people need food no matter what. You may not need gold. You may not need the next big apartment building or tower in New York City, but we will always need food. So again, you make money from the farmer renting from you, and in addition from appreciation in the asset over time are the two things we're going after.
Yeah. What I like about this chart too, for, a lot of my kind of left brain friends, usually people default to say, hey, whatever in the top right-hand corner, that's where we're going to go to. But, this is crazy volatility. I mean, when I think of as an investor, where do I want to be with either my piggy bank checking or my retirement? I probably don't want to be past 10%. So I'm, mentally cutting this page in half right off the bat. And then I like to see when you're over the 10% that, farmland is here. So, for all purposes, I'd say, don't look too heavy at the red, look at the green. And, we could have taken a lot of liberties, but I do appreciate you guys showing the full spectrum for folks that want volatility. But just for me, from a warm and fuzzy, I'm really liking this low vol, high return model. So, and it's been like this for years.
That's right. This data is actually for almost the last 30 years, since 1990,
Wow.
Since it was being professionally collected by what is called NCREIF, NCREIF. So this is a large amount of investment grade farmland that this index has been tracking since 1990. And you're right. So on the x-axis here, on the y-axis, going up and down is the annual returns that each of these investment classes have produced to their investors. So obviously higher is better. CDs on the bottom left, like sure, you can park your money in a CD and make a little bit of money every year, and that's great too. And in fact, like there's argument for portfolio diversification to include many, if not all, types of assets in your portfolio. But importantly, again here on the x-axis is God, I keep saying that. On the y-axis is your annual return you're making from this asset. So Farmland has returned its investors for almost 30 years, just under 12% a year returns. That's pretty good.
I think it's amazing. I'm gonna put one up. I think it's amazing, and I'm gonna crystal ball, for the 2020s, and I'm just not seeing the S&P at that same sort of returns and REITs, or at least without maybe a few heart attacks in there for folks. And you're right, Farmland, the basic supply demand economics. I think it's in the favor. So I really appreciate you showing us and laying it out this way.
Yeah, and it's great. Heart attacks, also known as volatility.
Yes.
Right? Volatility being the measure of when an asset moves up or down in a given year. So you're right. The S&P, if you scoot out to the right of this chart, and higher volatility, the S&P has returned similar amounts on average over this time period. However, doing this along the way, so if you buy at the wrong time and sell at the wrong time, you can be in a really bad place. Whereas Farmland is a far more consistent performer and not really correlated. So it doesn't really move with these other asset classes. So for example, in 08 and 09, when the S&P was not doing well, in fact, commercial real estate, residential real estate were not doing well. Farmland continued its slow upward march. So on one hand, it's not a get rich quick scheme. We want to be very clear when you're going for the next 10x investment, investing in Farmland. But it has shown historically to be a highly consistent and high performer over time.
That's dynamite. And when I pull out the Rocket Dollar ruler here, very high tech with my pinky finger, it looks like Farmland is still above the S&P. So, keeping that heart warm and fuzzy, low volatility. So apologies to my option traders out there. But this is solid. And I'm glad you brought up 08, 09. I think that's a true litmus test. And, by default, even if we had another bull for, 5+ years, there will be, I think, some sort of trough that's going to come through that. And most folks, unfortunately, are following the wrong wave when they put in more heavier. So I love the slow and steady approach. Not to go too deep on slide 1 here in your offering, but can folks kind of do the equivalent of a dollar cost averaging when they get into Acretrader?
Sure. So we consistently bring new offerings to our marketplace. So we have new plots of land we bring on there as an offering for you to invest in. So you can continuously invest over time and across different pieces of land, which is I think obviously for us, for me personally, I do the same on our website. So that's certainly the goal. Again, the name of the game is portfolio diversification, and that's what we're all here for. Maybe we click the next slide here. And,
of course.
So I think when we zoom out and look at our business, there is a very large amount of farmland out there in the United States. So there's 900 million acres and stuff. So about $3 trillion. This is over here on the right side of the green. So it's a big asset class. Yeah. And yet it's still very early in its professionalization. You think about if you want to buy a stock or gold or even commercial real estate, the barriers to entry for the investor are lower and lower every year in the U.S.
Sure.
For Farmland, that has not been the case, and that's certainly what we are here to do. And that's what we're excited about, is professionalizing the capital formation and the investing in this asset class. It's already happening to an extent here on the left-hand side. You can see individuals and institutions do own a decent amount of farmland in the U.S. And in fact, when we think about institutions or institutional investors, that includes people like the Bill Gates Foundation or Mormon Church or some of the endowments out there that are active. There's also a rapidly growing amount of private equity money in the space. So there's about $30 billion of actively managed private equity funds in farmland in the United States. It's a big number, but when you think about, again, a $3 trillion asset class, that's about 1% of the total asset class. Private equity interest is up from 3 billion 10 years ago to 30 today. So it's rapidly growing. Yeah. It's still very, very early in the evolution of this asset class. And again, that's why we are so excited to be able to play a part early and be investors in farmland as this trend continues to.
And I chuckle with you with those numbers. I mean, for some of us who have listened to the Rocket Your Dollar blog and know of us, is it's similar math. I mean, I'm from Philadelphia, so I always reference Rocky Balboa and fighting the big guy. And I'll talk in a bit, but on the self-directed side, you're right. It still only is 1%, but it's shown tremendous growth over the last decade or so. But it's still so minuscule of what I feel how the average investor is wired, what they do. And as I said, I think concurrently, I think we're going to see a lot of growth with, not only piggy bank checking, but also retirement dollars kind of come through to farmland.
Right. Great.
Awesome.
And hop to the next slide. We can
Yeah.
dig in. So we talked about why farmland is a great asset class. We talked about Acretrader's mission in democratizing the asset class. But why haven't you heard about it? If it's so great, like why is it not in the financial media every day? And I think it's pretty straightforward. It's if you want to invest in farmland today or before Acretrader,
Sure.
and you're an individual, you had two options. Again, we named the private equity funds where you can go give them $1 million and they've got it locked up for 10 years. It sounds like a non-starter for most people out there. Or you can go out and buy a farm. Again, the problem is it's usually $1 million if you want to go buy a farm.
Yep.
You're probably going to go to a county you've never been to and plop down money through a broker you haven't worked with before. And congratulations, now you're in the business of farming.
Yeah.
So despite its great investment performance historically, it hasn't been a largely invested in asset class. It's been very tightly held among the farming community and farmers that have seen great wealth creation and wealth building through this. But there haven't been a lot of options out there for people to invest directly in farmland, and as a result, again, you haven't seen it a lot in the media. Though to your point earlier, it is certainly growing in popularity, and we as a result as an investment platform have seen pretty incredible amounts of interest coming on here in recent months.
Very cool.
So how do we do it?
Mm-hmm.
It's the slide here. It's very simple. We take a parcel of land. So think of it as, if you have an 80-acre square of land, we take the title of that and place it in a unique LLC that its only purpose is to own that one piece of land and to have investors or unit holders or shareholders. So we take, if you call it an 80-acre parcel of land, that will be one LLC that's 800 units or shares. They're each 1/10 of an acre. So very simple. You've seen this before a lot. It's called securitization. This isn't right. This is exactly how companies sell shares of their own business to the investing public.
Just from a reference point, I'm just a simple boy from Scranton, PA. So for somebody that really is interested, what is the initial capital commitment, or just from a rough range, what would be one share, 1/10 of an acre?
Sure. So 1/10 of an acre depends on where you are in the United States. But an acre itself can go anywhere from $5,000 to or even $3,000 to $50,000. Just depending on where you're in the country, what type of farm it is, what you're growing, et cetera. And so we typically have a 10-share minimum for the investors to come on. So really a 1 acre minimum. Minimum investment levels on our website are anywhere from $5,000 to $50,000 usually.
This is cool. And how as I said, I like to keep things, I love the squares. It's simple. You know me, I'm more of a self-storage person, and just the linearity of it, I think is great. I think it's very simple. I think this is what folks want, especially with the secure investment. And, for folks that maybe came into the game in CRE, in storage, in one of the niche asset classes, as that first dividend gets paid, let's say that 10,000, 20,000 dividend, I view this as kind of a no-brainer place to put this to get that, as we saw in the earlier slides, that 10 to 12% yield, which is fantastic.
That's right. It's what we're ultimately after is just
beautiful,
making sure to create positive investment returns for our investors and our partners.
And is there a timeline? Is there a lockup period here?
There is. So each farm, we ask people to invest for the long term on the website. Again, the whole idea of this is passive investing and long-term investing, right? And that's obviously with your self-directed IRA as well. So we're not here to be day traders of farmland, right? So typically the investment periods are 3, 5, or even 10 years on a per farm basis. And all that again is disclosed at Acretrader on our website. You go to the offerings and see different farms and different holding periods or anticipated holding periods. In addition to that, you can, after a 1-year minimum lockup per regulations of private company shares, you can also, we're happy to help facilitate
Sure.
all those shares to somebody, friend, family, things like that as well. So.
Really cool.
Great. And then this last slide here is very simply why we feel great or confident that we are an exceptional way to own farmland. So on the far left here in the left column, you see Acretrader. You
Mm-hmm.
can see our fees. They appear to be very low. That is for good reason and good purpose. Again, if we can create a great investment for our investors, we know that they'll spend more time with us and ultimately invest more with us and help us grow our marketplace. The other options that are out there is there are investment funds. We referred to that earlier. It's
Mm-hmm.
private equity. This says 20 plus billion. It's actually right at 30 billion at this point.
Sure.
Again, growing very quickly, but it's high fees and a long-term lockup on your money.
Yeah.
And then using some or if not a lot of debt or leverage to amplify those returns. There are a few publicly traded REITs. Those are a great way to invest in farmland if you want daily liquidity.
Mm-hmm.
However, to me personally, the whole idea of investing in farmland is to get away from public markets,
Yeah.
to get away from the volatility of public markets, and the REITs as well. They do carry high fee loads and a good amount of leverage as well. So again, it's an option. It's certainly there, and
Mm-hmm.
some people it's great, but there is it would appear based on the stock movement of some of these, and one of them's down I don't know 50% in the last 2 or 3 years. It would appear that there is some real volatility in that market. And then lastly, again, the outright ownership is how most people own farmland, and that's what we are hoping to help and to change some.
Awesome. Well, the way you presented this is super clear. I even want to bring it back to my mom she likes 5-year CDs, and she likes the farm also. So I think this would be a natural move even for folks in their retirement years, or that's looking to inherit or pass down. Or I see so many scenarios where this makes sense, from folks right out of school, all the way up to folks that are probably even past MRD age in their early 70s. So this is really great. Good stuff. So shifting gears, and Carter was definitely the sizzle, but we'll give you some meat and potatoes here. So on the Rocket Dollar side, basically what we're doing is we're also like Acretrader. We're all about education, and then also to give you an avenue to frankly take back something that's yours. So what we're doing here is we are giving you, Joe Jane America, the opportunity to take back a portion of your retirement dollars to invest in private assets. So, instead of being in some target date fund, you might say, wow, this Acretrader, this makes sense. It makes sense for me to own farmland. I feel very comfortable with the 10% yield. And this is great. The next question, of course, then is, how do I do it? And, like most of us, we, have a smartphone. We're here in the 21st century. We want to be quick and easy to open. So a part of our mission too is, our most two valuable assets here are time and money. And we at Rocket Dollar are really respecting your time. So we're looking at about 5 minutes to open the account. There's also a huge benefit here to the extent to being on a platform such as an Acretrader now or in the near future, where, as close to one click, you can sign up and then have your money in Acretrader, have your retirement dollars. Once again, no penalties, no fees, no taxes, just moving from kind of some stagnant fund that you're not even sure what you're investing into something extremely tangible. And then the sum of all that is, diversification. And I think the proof point, and you hear a lot more in the media, is folks that become high net worth, they're doing it from real estate. And this is, as we've shown, another dynamic asset class within real estate. Once again, it is a checkbook control account. And why I share this, I imagine there's a fair number of people, and I think we had a question even before we logged on here, is, can I do the dollar cost averaging? I refer to it. And, what would be a shame if somebody committed to putting in, let's just say 10,000 every month, but they were stuck on the phone for an hour. Carter, somebody on your team was stuck on the phone for an hour. So with this, we've completely eliminated, I'd say, all of that friction. So once again, the self-directed industry has been around for over 50 years, but it's still been a very old school paper-based scan fax machine, even now in the year 2019, we've taken a much different approach to it. Once again, respecting your time and money, we are literally putting your money in your hands with the checkbook control self-directed account. It could be the SDIRA. And for those folks that are self-employed out here, my PSA for the day is please take a moment, learn about the solo 401k. And if it makes sense, open it. You can lower your taxes by $56,000 this year. You can even take out a loan for $50,000, tax-free, penalty-free. And you, once again, as you see here on the screen, you're in full control of your account. We never touch your money. You have control of it, backed by an FDIC insured bank at all times. Finally here, so I'd say from our first 30,000 or so incoming calls on the sales and support side, we heard a few things. And this is, what basically ended up being our gold offering. And of course, there'll be a platinum coming out in 2020, so get ready here. But, right now it's speed. I know some of us here are thinking, this would be great if I can be set up, by Thanksgiving or at the holiday table. I might get busy for a few weeks, but I really want to make that first investment in Acretrader by the end of the year. We can do that with our gold. I know folks out here really feel more secure wiring money over an ACH. Totally hear you. Once again, all included in the gold side. Likewise, for those folks with maybe a bit of a higher balance, there's some forms that we can fill out on your behalf. And then, finally on the support side, I think the mission, going back to the spirit of education, which, Carter, I see you and your team, from LinkedIn to the different business news stations, really sharing pieces of education. We took it similar. On our support side, we have folks that have been in this space for decades as advisors, as investors, as fundraisers, as law professionals, true JDs out there. And that's another benefit that you'll have on the gold side. So this is just some of the ways that we come in here. So, with that, I want to open it up for questions. And I think I saw one come in. And let me see if I can figure this out here. So as I'm bringing this up, Carter, is there anything that you wanted to bring up or share?
Sure. I think you've hit a lot of the high notes, and so appreciate the time today. I think you mentioned that you guys are not heavily paper-based. That's something that we appreciate. Mm-hmm. The investment industry still seems to be very intensely paper-based. We are likewise trying to and have eliminated all that within the processes on our website. So you can invest in under 5 minutes.
Wow.
Without leaving our website. And so, we appreciate that about Rocket Dollar as well. There's certainly, there are other SDIRA solo 401k providers out there. We've worked with some of those, and they tend to be pretty intense on the paper. And it takes quite a bit. We appreciate that you guys' efforts on that front.
Thank you. So 2 questions that came in. Huge thanks to Nikki for kind of gatekeeping and consolidating, and also everybody else that's been on the call here and also dialing in before. We really appreciate. So, first question here, can I invest in Acretrader using an SDIRA? I think, Carter, as you alluded to, the answer is yes. And what I want to make clear, it's not just an SDIRA. And a lot of folks say, well, where's this money coming from? So let's take maybe a little step back. For folks under, say, 60 years old, if you have an old 401k, probably termed as a rollover IRA, if you're in the military or friends in the military have a TSP, for folks that were self-employed previously, a SEP, a simple, all of these can be moved into, once again, a checkbook controlled SDIRA or checkbook control solo 401k. So even if you have what I love about this is you say, there's different based on the type of farmland. An acre may go for $8,000, it might go for $40,000. I know a lot of folks like myself, my dad was pushing me hard in my 20s, do a Roth. And, I have a piece of a Roth somewhere, probably 8 or 12 grand. This is perfect to move into an SDIRA because look, you already paid the taxes on it. You're getting these great returns. And how great is that to put in something 10 grand and let it grow the next 20 or 30 years and on the back and have no taxes? So all of this can be rolled into a self-directed IRA. And the second question, Carter, I'm going to shift to you. Do folks have to be accredited investors to invest in Acretrader?
That's correct today. So you have to be an accredited investor to invest on the site today. We are working on offerings for 2020 that will be open to all investors. So we do encourage people, even if you're not accredited, go ahead and come on the site, sign up for a free account, and we'll provide educational materials, and go ahead and get to know us. Feel free to call us anytime as well, accredited or not accredited, and we're happy to, in the nature of full transparency, provide anything and everything we've got so that you can see what you're getting into and why we're so excited about it.
Very cool. And I'm excited because another question just came in. So let's see what we got here. Uh, this is a fun one. All right, Carter. How do you conduct due diligence on the land?
Great questions. We've got a team of dedicated farm analysts, we call them.
Okay.
These are people with good, intensive backgrounds in farm management and acquisition and investing. So on our team, we've got hundreds of millions of dollars of farm management experience. We also work with other farm managers and farmland investors and brokers and funds throughout the country. And so each week we look at anywhere from 100 to 200 farms typically. On occasion, one of those makes it onto the site. So we're incredibly selective with the farms we look at to post on the website. And then beyond that, after looking at them, if you will, we have a pretty intense 3-stage diligence process that we take on through that involves proprietary software, external software, databases from all over the place, local, national level information, and then ultimately that usually ends up with on the ground, boots on the ground, I should say, someone from our team actually going out and checking out the farm, checking out the soil, meeting with the tenant, et cetera. So, long story short, we are incredibly deep on our diligence, and that's we'll intend to always be that same way.
Very fun. And let's see if we have one final one. I'm also checking my phone. It's fun. I always enjoy this when you get a text, especially on a webinar versus a podcast. So, I don't know if this is for you or me, brother, but what is the tax process like after I invest with Acretrader?
So from our end, it's pretty simple. You're investing in an LLC. So that LLC has its own set of books, if you will.
Okay.
What's fascinating is it's very, very simple. You get rent from a farmer. There's about $100 of insurance that goes out. You pay a small amount of property tax, and that's the P&L. So from our end, tax reporting is very simple.
Yeah, and I guess I should opine on this a bit also. So depending on if you're a pre-tax, traditional, self-directed account, or post-tax, i.e. Roth, basically the balance, and I'll call them dividends or payouts that come in, are going to go back into the respective account, just like any other asset that you may have or have had previously in your retirement. Just a few rules of thumbs. Once again, traditional means pre-tax, your money grows. You can take it out. You have to wait generally till you're 59 and a half, 60 years old without early withdrawal penalty. And then in your 70s, you'll have to start taking out little pieces. And then once again, with the Roth, I love this. So, and I think it's a great analogy here, maybe to close on this final question, thinking of a seed versus the big plant or tree that sprouts. All my friends with that 10,000 on a Roth, I think it's fantastic to, use your Roth money here and let it grow over the next few decades. And then on the back end, guess what? You're not paying any tax on that beautiful plant. So, with that, I know we're hitting the holiday season, and I love to share, at least on behalf of Rocket Dollar, a great thank you to everybody. For folks that come through Rocket Dollar or ultimately will sign up, invest with Acretrader, please use code Acretrader19 for $100 off. My last name will confuse you. We'd be on for another hour and a half trying to spell it. So any questions, once again, reach out to rocketdollar.com. My email's here. Carter, how else can folks reach you?
Our direct line here is 479-335-5660. And you can email info@Acretrader or Carter at Acretrader. And I just wanted to knock down one last question.
Sure.
How is year-end value determined on a piece of farmland within our company? We tend to use county level or even statewide level land price appreciation over time. And then if there are meaningful variations within that, then we'll actually go out and get it appraised as well. So.
Awesome. Well, sincere thanks. Carter Malloy, founder and CEO of Acretrader. I'm glad that I know you before you're famous. And please remember us little folks here in Austin as you guys keep on rocking and rolling in the next decade.
Great. Thanks, Dan, and thanks everyone for your time today.
Awesome. Take care, y'all.